Welcome to Anchor Moments. I'm Gina LeBenz, and I'm here with a very special guest that I'm just met recently. And wow, I'm super excited to be hearing more of his story. His name is Joe Wayne. And before we get started, I also want to thank the sponsor of today's show is Si Se Puede Foundation. I am here today with their help. So thank you so much, Si Se Puede Foundation. And today I am here with Joe Wayne, the head of the Angel Army, who's going to tell us a little bit about how he started his new nonprofit. But first, we're going to hear a little bit about him. So tell us a little about yourself, Joe.
I'm Joe. I love Jesus.
Me too.
So I have a beautiful wife of 21 years named Gina.
Really?
We have two
Wow.
teenage boys, a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, Jason and Dylan.
Aww.
I work at Intel full time. They take very good care of me and my family. And then 12 to 15, sometimes 20 hours a week, I spend working with students. We volunteer on a program called The Landing on Tuesday nights,
Okay.
which is a program for struggling teens.
Okay.
My wife and I are both leaders for that. And then Angel Army leads the worship for it every week. And then I just spend a lot of time with my Angel Army students and taking care of stuff for them.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about your Angel Army students?
Yeah, I work with students, about 25 students, ranging from like 7th grade through high school.
Okay.
And they have all different levels of skill. It's really more about heart.
Okay.
They have a heart for Jesus and they want to learn to lead and they want to grow in their faith and in their leadership abilities, then, you know, I'm happy to have them on board. We kind of work with them musically, building them up musically and helping them learn about how to work with song structures, harmonies, and work as a cohesive band, like how they can sound good together.
Okay.
I've been telling kids since they were in like 5th grade that they could play the coolest drum fill in the history of the world, but if it doesn't match what everybody else is doing, then everybody potentially sounds bad. So I try to teach them how to be cohesive.
And how to play in a band and listen to each other and themselves.
And we work on
together.
stage presence, and we work on just their speaking skills, because there's a lot of times where they're praying in front of, you know, a couple hundred people at a time. So they're introducing songs, they're saying prayers, praying over whatever the message is going to be. So,
Wow, in the ages of junior high and high school.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I'm really excited. I'm going to actually attend one of your concerts that you put on.
Yeah, we have some cool stuff coming up in March. Some special nights of worship and spoken word with our friend Egypt Speaks. She's an amazing performer.
Yeah, and he
yeah,
even
we're
hooked
excited
up.
about
Yeah,
that.
next month she's going to be on my show too, and I'm super stoked. And she's even won Grammys or been nominated for a bunch of Grammys. I hear.
On the ballot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the ballot for some Grammys. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
I haven't been on any ballots for anything, so.
Yeah, me neither. So, tell me, on my Anchor Moment show, what I am about is having people share their stories of where they've encountered God in their lives, where they know for sure that God lives, is alive today, knows you and loves you and is with you. Can you tell us about some of those special anchor moments on your journey?
I can. Hopefully you and all your viewers don't think I'm a big goofball after this. But God speaks to us in several different ways. It could be audibly, it could be through His Word, it could be through another person, it could be in dreams. Sometimes you know immediately God's speaking to me. Sometimes you look back a little bit later and you're like, that was a total God moment.
Yes.
And I've had multiple instances of all of those.
And
I guess I'll start with the oldest
specifics.
one that I can remember. When I was growing up, as a young boy growing up in Detroit, I had a reoccurring dream, And I would have it anywhere from 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times a year, where in this dream, every time I would see my tombstone.
Wow.
And it didn't say a date, but it's specified that I was 26 years old.
Oh my
So
goodness.
for years, I have this reoccurring dream that I was in my head, I'm only going to live until I'm 26 years old. Went through tumultuous teenage years. Graduated from high school when I was 17 and started working in restaurants when I was at a young age, and just started being crazy. And I kind of had it, I was always in the back of my head, I'm only going to live to 26 anyway. I got nothing to look forward to. Well, let's see what happens. And I made some poor life choices and partied and was crazy. And then I met my soon-to-be wife, and we were both kind of in a crazy period of time. I guess I should also back up a little bit. The dreams went on until like mid-teens, and then I stopped having them.
And then they stopped.
So
but it
this
still
is
left
later.
a point
Now
in your mind thinking,
now I'm like 20 years old,
yeah.
going crazy. I meet my future wife. She was at a crazy moment in her life, and I mean, we talked. We were crazy together a little bit for a while, and then we kind of, as we realized things were getting serious, we just talked about our backgrounds and our faith, and it turned out we both knew and loved Jesus, and we both had a background there. Neither of us were going to church at a time, but we were like, well, if we're going to do this, maybe we should find a church together.
Yeah.
So we started going to church together, and then we decided, I asked her to marry me. We got engaged. We did premarital counseling. And we got married on January 9th. I'm going to look like a goofball here. But we got married on January 9th, 1999. Great night, amazing. It was a dream come true to be able to marry this beautiful woman. January 10th, we got baptized together. We decided that's how we wanted to start our marriage.
Yeah.
Together was just full on, all out, showing all of our friends and family that God is in the center of our marriage. So we got baptized together, and I guess the key to all this is that when we got married, I was 26 years old. Kind of weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so beautiful.
Yeah,
so
it's
you're
the moment in my life where I kind of died to myself, and when I actually truly realized that my life wasn't about me and it wasn't for me. It's for something better and bigger. So, yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful. That is such a beautiful story. We're a little bit, dang it, I'm wearing mascara. Wow, that is beautiful. Yeah. And so that's when you...
I mean, that's something that I look back on. And one thing our pastor at our church says is, he said, if you want to share Jesus with people, the first thing you should do, the best thing you could possibly do is know your story and share your story.
Right.
Because that's not something that they can take away from you, right?
No.
So, I mean, we could argue theology all day, or this line doesn't mesh with this line, but the one thing that no one can take from me is my story.
That's
and when
right.
I look back on those moments, there's no doubt in my mind that God was showing me that there was something to come. You know? So,
Wow.
from a young age, yeah, kind of a big moment for me.
That is a beautiful anchor moment story. That is absolutely beautiful. And you have more, I know.
Yeah. Okay. In May this year, last year, I was blessed with an opportunity through work I had to go to Israel for 3 weeks of training. And truth be told, my faith will never be the same after that trip. It was amazing. I didn't take any tours or anything. Everywhere I went, I just dove into my Bible. What am I looking at? And found all the different places in the Bible. And I did all my sightseeing through His Word and visually at the same time.
That'd be so
without
amazing.
somebody telling me what was going on. So right before I left, though, we went through several months of like really dark time with our oldest son. He's so talented and has such amazing skill and leadership qualities about him, musically gifted to no end. But he went through some time where he just stopped caring. It was dark. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know where to find his worth. And he was looking in the wrong places. And our relationship for a few months was broken. It got to a point to where I had to step back and say, I love you, but at this point right now, our relationship is fractured. So I had to make a decision. I said, I'm going to always take care of you. I'll provide a place for you to sleep, eat, and all the necessities. But I was like, all the extras I try to give them, because we try to give some very special moments and experiences to our boys for life. Taking them to concerts they want to see, or making it happen to where they can meet their favorite Christian bands, or just do really special things, always buying them the equipment that they need musically to succeed and grow. And I said, but all that stops right now. And I said, and it was heart-wrenching, because I went through this time where, if he asked me anything, I'd give him the answer and then break eye contact and wouldn't look at him. But for the most part, at least for the first few weeks, he was a teenager, headstrong, and I think he was like fine with it. Oh, good, Dad's not going to bug me, But then after a while, you could see his posture change, and he realized that there was something missing. But it was still very dark, because he didn't know who he was, and he didn't love himself, and it was just scary. Here I am, someone who I literally have dozens of teens who want to do life with me.
Yeah.
And it was the most heartbreaking situation I could have ever imagined, to be in this position where all these other kids want to do life with me, and I can't do life with my own son. So this trip to Israel came at a perfect time, because it was during the time of brokenness for both of us. And like literally when I got out of the car and I was going into the airport, my wife and our younger son got out and gave me a hug and a kiss goodbye. And Jason stayed in the truck.
Wow.
And Gina told him, come say goodbye to your dad. Like if she didn't tell him that, we probably wouldn't have said goodbye to each other, because we're both kind of headstrong. But that's how I left, and that's how I went to Israel. And I'm going there broken. And the second day that we were there was crazy, because all of a sudden bombs started flying over there. They broke some records over that weekend. Over 600 missiles fired in a matter of like 40 hours.
Wow.
But when it started, we happened to be up north. We were kind of touring around the Sea of Galilee. We went to Capernaum, and then we went to Mount of Beatitudes, and where he taught the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I had the total Psalm 46:10 moment. Be still and know that I'm God. I went into the little chapel that they built on the Mount of Beatitudes, and I was like, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna read the Sermon on the Mount while I'm here. I mean, I'm here.
Yeah.
So I pull out my phone and I go to my Bible app, and crazy enough, it went right to Matthew chapter 5, which is where the Sermon on the Mount starts.
Without you having to try.
I didn't. So could be a GPS thing. I'm not going to say that that was necessarily a God thing. Could be GPS knew I was there and that happened. Cool. But I read through all 3 chapters of the Sermon on the Mount, and then I get an appreciation for where I just was before that, Capernaum, because I'm all, oh, then he went to Capernaum and did all this. I was all, that's that place. So things are coming together. I just read the 3 chapters of the Sermon on the Mount, though, still broken. I walk out, and I'm walking on this path, and there's this big row of trees. To the right is the Sea of Galilee. It's just a beautiful view from up there. And this great big flock of birds flew over the trees, like just right in front of me up there. And they fly over, and they like just kind of hovered for a second and then went back. and I like literally just read, don't worry, look at the birds in the sky.
Oh.
They don't have to harvest anything. They don't have to store anything up. Yet God provides for them. How much more will he take care of you? And I literally was like, God's hand on my shoulder going,
Yes.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I've got this. Like, it was truly that be still and know that I am God moment for me. Because I was at a point and there was no way that I could control what was going on.
Right.
And God was like reminding me, he's like, you
I'm
know
here
you
for
can't
you.
control this,
Yeah.
but know that I can, and I'm here for you. So that's my kind of snap out of it. I got this. Don't worry, I got this. Yeah. So, and the whole rest of the trip was just full of the Bible coming to life for me. But at the same time, I had peace finally after weeks and weeks of
English.
going, what do I
Yeah.
do? How can I help my son? And it wasn't that I could help him. It was that he needed his moment with God. Which,
Yeah.
fast forward to Camp Electric, where we take Angel Army students every year. We go to Camp Electric. We allowed Jason, even though he was having his hard time, even almost because he was having his hard time, we decided to let him go both weeks. So he went the first week, pulled a bunch of all-nighters while we weren't there, and then the second week we go. There was a very powerful night where the band We Are Messengers played a concert that night, and it was a powerful moment for several students in Angel Army, like where they all really realized their worth that night. And my son posted just a really special, just a picture of him with a little caption saying, you know, these last 2 weeks have been amazing. The We Are Messengers show tonight was life. And he says, I finally know my worth again.
Oh.
I love myself again.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So-
that is so beautiful.
We got to cut that out.
Oh.
Yeah, so, and he's been just thriving ever since. You know, he didn't do great in school last year, but now he knows where his worth is and what defines him. So he knows what defines him. And it's not what people say about him. It's
Right.
not even his talent or you know how people act towards him. What defines him is the love that God has for him. And,
Right.
And he finally got to like really experience that and loves himself because of it, whereas previously it was dangerous. So
Wow.
God had it.
Yeah. And that's what God was letting you know while you were in Israel,
Yeah,
when he sent those birds above you,
yeah,
right after reading that in the Bible. Wow.
yeah.
That is beautiful. There's nothing like hearing a fresh anchor moment.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so beautiful.
Yeah. I've been blessed to have many moments. There's no doubt in my mind that God's real. Jesus is there for us, and he is
That's right.
the way.
He is the way.
There's no doubt in my mind with the experiences that I've had. Strangely enough, much like the Israelites of the Old Testament, though, I mean, I'm human. And even though I've had all these powerful experiences, I still have moments where I'm far from perfect. I'm just trying to be better about, in those moments, running to God rather than retreating and beating myself up. I don't know. So
Yeah, 'cause he
I'm
knows
still a work in progress.
Yeah, and he knows that. He knows that we're human. He made us.
Yeah.
He knows, God knows that we're human. God knows that we're going to make mistakes. But it's so beautiful. Jesus came to let us know that we're forgiven.
Yep.
That we, that we have a loving God who can forgive us for our sins. You know?
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
That is so powerful.
I've had some pretty cool moments. And they may be nothing to somebody, but they're everything to me. Mm-hmm. They really are. Mm-hmm. They keep me grounded.
They do keep you grounded, and they give you a feeling of peace. So for those of you that are out there watching the show and saying, "Gosh, I don't know if I've had an anchor moment. I don't know if I've had one of those special times." Think back through your life. Think back, and you can go way back for, like even, back when you were a kid to, anything this year. But think back, and where are those times when something happened and that seemed like just an incredible coincidence, that the odds are just like, astronomical. How could it possibly be? And then, no, if you had just such an incredible feeling of peace when that happened, it's God.
Yeah.
Everyone that I've talked to that shared an anchor moment, and a lot of times where they're coming is when you're having a hard time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily when life's all good and everything's all perfect, but when you're struggling with something. And then, yeah, very cool.
He is an amazing father.
Yes, we do.
Better dad than I could ever hope to be.
That's right. That's right. And we're just to do our very best. And anytime we mess up, get back up and try again. And
Thank
try
goodness
to do things.
for grace.
Thank goodness for grace. Yes. Thank goodness for grace. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just have a few minutes left. And before we pray, how did you start Angel Army?
Well, it started with several years of disobedience.
Okay.
God told me very early in our marriage that I was supposed to work with junior high and high school students. And I really struggle with self-worth and anxiety, and I put it off for a long time, just thinking, man, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I have it in me. I don't know if I know enough about the Bible to be able to answer questions for kids or adults or anybody. I was always worried about messing somebody else up if I couldn't be perfect. So I put it off for years. And then several years ago, like 2014, our good friend Pastor Anthony Montana, they were trying to do a student worship thing in his 5th and 6th grade ministry. And he approached me one day and asked me if I would consider taking it.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And he's like, well, if you don't, it's going to die.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me pray about it. And I prayed for like a week. And I came back and said, all right, let's try it. And then that was my introduction into student ministry. Next thing you know, me and my wife are both small group leaders for the students in the ministry. And I started working with 5 students. And then the second year, it was me and 10 students. And then the third year, it was me and 30 students. And now it's students from all different grades now. Like junior high and high school students are coming to me because they wanted to grow and they wanted to learn and they wanted to worship.
Yeah.
And I was that opportunity for them. So I did it at the church for about 3.5 years, and then stepped aside, and we turned it into a nonprofit. Now I actually work with students from several different churches in the area, throughout the East Valley and even in Peoria. One of my original 5 students I still work with lives in Peoria now, and so I work with students from all over, just students who have a heart to grow and learn and grow musically, and try to give them experiences that they maybe wouldn't get on other normal worship teams, to put on special worship nights with different churches, and to work with artists like Egypt. We take them to concerts, we do life together, we barbecue, and it's really more about building community and helping them to be comfortable in their own skin.
Wow. And you're giving them leadership opportunities too, and they're just kids.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I'm supposed to be the one leading these kids, but honestly, their hearts and their drive for what they want to do for Jesus inspire me. I don't know if I should say more than I inspire them, but let me say, they fill my heart more than you can imagine. Just their presence and their hearts fill me. So it's totally worth the hours. It's totally worth the time.
And you still have your day job.
I do. I work 40 to 50 hours a week at Intel. But
Okay. And this
that
and
pays
work
the
your
bills,
passion.
and
Yes.
the kids feed my heart.
There you go. So you can do that. Those of you that are out there, you know, you can keep your day job and do some really cool things that you're passionate about
Yeah.
to make the world a better place.
I look back.
Yeah.
I look back to my teen years, and nobody. You can't tell me that there's a teenager out there that has a perfect life. Nobody has a perfect life, and we all have struggles, and we all deal with different burdens. And I specifically had kind of a crazy teenage life, and when I look back, there was a couple adults that spoke life into me.
Yeah.
I look into that, and it was Jeff Parsons and Jack and Kathy Pennick. When I look back on the time that they invested in me, and just the fact that they spoke life into me and spoke truth to me, I look back and realize how important that was.
They
And
were
I
sent
just
to be your angels.
I want
Yeah.
to do that for
Yeah.
students, knowing how important it is, because
Right.
you go through years where you maybe just don't see eye to eye with your parents. They're probably right, but teenagers, when I was a teenager, I knew everything. So, but yeah, those people could tell me the same thing that my parents just told me 3 days ago, and I scoffed. But when
to
they
hear from
told
a-
me,
Yeah,
oh, that makes sense.
that's right. Well, we just have 40 seconds left, so we're going to do a quick prayer here. God, thank you so much for introducing me to Joe just not too terribly long ago and having him here today to share his stories. Thank you so much, God, for all the mentors that you've brought into our lives. And please bless everyone who's watching our show today. And if they are inspired to be a mentor, have them reach out to Joe or to a nonprofit in their community, or maybe start something. And thank you, God, for always forgiving us for our mistakes. Amen.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.
Thanks for watching. Please click to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we post new Anchor Moments videos.